the Motivational 101.
Yes. Welcome, people. This is a Motivation 101, your weekly reminder that greatness is built one choice, one action, one moment of courage at a time. Another week, another great episode for sure. From fear to forward. What's a nice topic indeed, Mr. Steven. What is all about?
Fear, not being paralyzed by fear, right?
Yes.
Fear hinders progress. And that's what we want in life. We want progress. We don't want to be stuck. Yeah.
Yes. We don't like you to stuck with fear, people. Be brave enough to face your fear because if you face them, for sure you will be succeed. Just like Mr. Steven. When we talk about moving from fear to forward, Mr. Steven, what does that initial fear most commonly look and feel like in your experience?
Well, I think we've got to distinguish that fear isn't a stop sign, it's a signal, right? Um, most of us aren't stuck because we can't move forward, but it's because fear convinces us that it's unsafe to move forward. But I think this conversation, we need to talk about the difference between discomfort and fear. Fear is impending doom that's going to come, but fear is more of a discomfort that we need to work through than it is to be stopped by impending doom. Our inner psyche wants to uh, wants to think it's impending, but really it's a feeling of discomfort that yeah we need to learn to move through, even though it's uncomfortable.
We need to move through, people, and don't be stuck by fear. And how can someone distinguish between protective fear and limiting fear, holding them back?
Uh, I think protecting fear is that fight or flight, right? There's that fight or
Yes.
flight that's a God-given chemical that will be dumped into our brain and our central nervous system, then gets heightened. Um, but when we talk about uh, fear, we really need to look at it as same as like pros and cons. Is this fear that I'm I'm feeling? Is this number one? Is it logical? Is something going to happen to me because of this fear? And list those things that maybe could happen, and then move over to the other side, and then ask the question: is this more of a discomfort because I don't like the how I feel comfortably about it? And I think a lot of times our fear isn't that impending doom, it's more of that discomfort that we confuse with fear. So, I think our bodies, God's built us in a way that we know the fight and flight, when to not. But I think a lot of the time, our fear is more of a feeling of discomfort that we need to uh, slowly push through in small steps.
Yes, baby steps, people, baby steps. And Mr. Steven, fear is often experienced in the body before the mind articulates it. What are the physical sensations you've learned to recognize as your personal fear signature?
Well, I think our central nervous system is the first thing that gives off clues. Uh, we we get that nervous feeling and pit in our stomach, um, and then obviously, if that isn't satisfied or whatever, then that fear elevates, and then we get that fight or flight. But For me, when I think about fear in terms of moving forward in the world, say it's public speaking, applying for a job, I'm trying to think of things people have fears about. Um, those things that people say, "Oh, I would just die if I got on stage or if I had to speak publicly." Well, the reality isn't you would not die if you
Mhm.
stood up and spoke in front of people. Um, that's a feeling you're confusing. So for me, it's learning to distinguish what are uncomfortable feelings that we just label fear, or is my central nervous system and the fight or flight chemicals telling me I really need to not do that, or I really need to to get out of the situation. So I think our bodies are pretty inapt. God's made us pretty incredible to be able to distinguish between the two when we're honest with ourselves.
Yes, be honest to yourself. And honesty is the best policy, people.
Yeah.
And Mr. Steven, catalyst and the choices. Let's talk about that terms. What is the critical turning point where the pain is staying in a fearful place becomes greater than the fear of moving forward?
If yeah, if fear is louder and urgent, um, I think we need to uh, figure out what pressures that they that that are there, and then uh, I think we need to then um, we need to break them down into to to the reality of truth. Like the Bible says, "Fear not."
Fear
The
not.
Bible says a lot about fear. So it's actually fear is how I feel is that it is something that we have developed in a so much more in the world we live in. There's so much stuff going on around us that I think, and I know I've said it over again, we've just confused fear and discomfort and labeled them the same thing. So I don't know what the catalyst is for it, but I do know the overcoming process of it is exposing yourselves to these feelings of discomfort and and pushing through it, and in pushing through it, uh, it will make that fear the next time not seem so as fearful. I don't know if that makes sense, but um, that's the best my mind can comprehend it.
Yes, and thank you for that empowering answer, Mr. Steven. Thank you. And courage is not the absence of fear, but the judgment that something else is more important. What was the something else for you? Purpose, love, curiosity that become your counterweight to fear.
Um, Personally, um, like I would use fear in the context of I fear to fail at something I start. Um, but again, that word, if I don't accomplish what I start, what is really the fear? Um, and so in my life, I I I would say I fear failing at something, or let's take it back to my accident scene, when I broke my neck and diving into that water as I lay there and was unsure if anyone saw me go in. That was a legitimate fear. And when they rolled me over, I had fear about why I couldn't feel from my shoulders down or move from my shoulders down. So, I mean, that's a legitimate fear I've had in my life, and I'm sure I remember at one point public speaking was a fear in my life, but, um, I think I really think that we need to become more comfortable with leaning in to what we call fear and, not to test fate in the terms of danger, but leaning into our quote unquote fears and, just renaming them as discomfort or uncomfortable. And, yeah, it's the same in the business world. There may be things you're fearing to do or fearing, for an application, and yeah, I those are things that I think realistically I've played out in my mind, but have learned to overcome.
Yes. Oh, to overcome them it's something else, like Mr. Steven. And we salute you for doing that. And you are empowering us for today. Mr. Steven, thank you for sharing your experience to the world. How do you reframe the narrative around failure when fear is shouting that missteps are catastrophic? What is a more useful story to tell?
Um, I got the last part of the question. Can you give me the first part again?
Yes. So, Mr. Steven, how do you reframe the narrative around failure when fear is shouting that missteps are
Yeah,
catastrophic?
yeah. I think society has placed such pressures on what failure looks like, um, that it causes many people to, be hesitant about doing things, and so I think we need to realize that a lot of the fear that we think we're dealing with, society as a construct has really developed, um, what failure looks like, or yeah, so to me, I think the logical answer would be to, yeah, you've got me stuck for the first time
Yes.
in a while. I apologize.
No
I don't
worries.
know. The catalyst is always society, um, and how to get past it. Um, I would just be repeating myself and by saying that it's it's relabeling it as not something that's fear, but that it's actually discomfort.
Yes. Definitely. People, these questions are designed to guide conversation that is both psychological and insightful and action oriented, helping to map these transformative path from stagnation to growth. So that what we're talking about with Mr. Steven, and how we stand in the quiet or familiar territory of what we know, even when it aches, even when it confines us. Forward is not a direction on a map, but trembling act of faith and version of ourselves and have not yet met. It begins not with roar, but with a whisper in the face of the shout, not by vanquishing the fear that grips us, but gently loosening its fingers one by one,
That's
and
great
choosing
point.
this step, yes, into uncertain space of it once occupied. So, Mr. Steven, what is the most surprising gift or skill you've gained from learning to move through here or fear that you would not have otherwise.
Um, I'm going to take it back to a few of them. Um, my fear was to be seen in public with a disability. It was it came from a young mind at 19 that didn't want to look a certain way or didn't want to. So I had a fear of being getting back into society again, and that took it, the it really took a number of socialized outings that the hospital actually would take me to, whether it was a shopping mall, and expose me to over time. And I learned what it was like to do life, because if I had not been pushed into that situation, I wouldn't have known how to have certain skills to work in a very unaccessible world. That's just one example. It would be the same with public speaking. I never wanted to be a public voice or a public figure, yet God called me into being a pastor, and so I had to get over my fear of public speaking, and that came through small opportunities that I said I am not going to do until I started to lean into the fear and relabel it not as fear, but rather as discomfort. And so over time, it's come now that I love what I do. I love having a voice and a platform that can help others. And so I would really strongly encourage anyone who there's a lot of people that are feel fear about just being in society after COVID or being in public, and you will stay stuck in fear until you learn to lean into it and rename it as discomfort. Our bodies have a great way of telling us what's really to be feared. And a lot of the things that we've labeled as fear isn't fear.
Yes, those are not fear, people. There's something only in your mind that you need to overcome it. And this is the sacred alchemy of human courage to feel full weight of what if and to answer not with certainty, but with a single deliberate movement toward what could be. The path from fear to forward is paved not the absence of doubt, but with the profound decision that your growth, your peace, your possibility is worth a tremble in your hands and will beating of your heart. And Mr. Steven, to wrap up our discussion for today, if you could instill one fundamental belief in every person about their ability to move from fear to forward, what would it be?
Um, Fear will always show up before growth, and but it doesn't get to decide your future. Forward movement, I think, starts with one small step that's repeated continually. And I would say confidence isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to move anyway. So,
Yes, people, another great episode on Motivation 101, which is I hope we empower you from fear to forward and let it go, people. Let it go. Let the fear replace with bravery. Face the challenge of your life. So, Mr. Steven, thank you so much for your time.
been a pleasure, Daniel. Take care.
Modicon people, see you soon.
Bye bye.